What is the, for a coach, for someone who's been in this game a long time, what is the fundamental difference between playoffs and regular season? We see the intensity as fans through the TV. What do you see on the ice?
Well, you hit the right word there, Squire. What happens is everybody tries to raise their game up. They know that every shift is so important, and coaches want nobody to miss assignments, especially defensive assignments, but that includes offense too. But I think it is intensity. Even when the hockey, everybody says, oh, the hockey's great. Well, a lot of times the hockey's not any better than it is in the regular season. Execution might be a little bit better, but the closeness of play and the time allotted to make those plays, you constantly get pressure, and you're being forced all the time. And I think that intensity is really what makes a difference. Even, like I said, if it doesn't look like it's better, it feels like it's better because everybody's got to hustle through it. And for the most part, some people handle that very well. They can stay stuck with their program, and they can be dependable, and they can get in the right positions, and others can't seem to do it. And I just happened to be looking at an old scrapbook from '94, and one of the things I felt about us then is we'd get ahead in a game, and then you start to feel like you got to sit on a little bit. And I think it maybe happened to the Canucks in the first series against Chicago. You start to sit back, you start to protect. Even the game one and games two, those things happen. And there's a difference between being inactive, and a really fine line between inactivity and being safe.
When you say about, it's funny, when you see a team sit back in a lead, the automatic reaction is, well, that was the plan. That the coach said, okay, once we get the lead, everybody just stay behind the blue line, let's not blow this. But you're saying in some ways it's almost a mental thing to the individual, that I don't want to give the puck away anymore. We've got the lead. I just want to make sure I don't make a mistake.
Clearly, all year long you're trying to instill a system of play that allows some flexibility so that they do get a little more safe, so you don't give up that risky outnumbered attack, and that's what you're always afraid of, to give the outnumbered attack up. So yeah, all teams have a plan, but some players go into that defense mode on their own, without the coach saying, come on, I want you to fall back now. He might still say, okay, time for one man in, and however he describes his particular defensive structures. But sometimes the players make their own minds up on what's to, and if they don't want to gamble or don't want to get out of position, then you get robotic somehow, and that's what seems to open up that space that wasn't there earlier.
Is that, Pat, where a coach in a playoff game can make a huge difference? Is that you're recognizing, okay, this guy is freezing up on me and this guy is not?
Absolutely. That's one of the keys to a coach, is to recognize when players have lost their concentration, in a sense. And sometimes that's fear. Don't be afraid to win. And that's a quote that I looked at. I had said then, I don't want our players afraid to win. And so you get in those shells, and or you get scared about criticism. Like we see the Sedins going through that criticism period. We just saw Marlowe taking it in other series, and our goaltenders taking it. And if they start to reflect on what's being said and they're worried about that sort of thing, believe it or not, that carries into a place where when it's time to execute, your mind's still somewhere else, saying, oh, if I don't do this, and then you have a chance to try, get yourself out of a position, guess at what's happening instead of understanding what's happening, or you just go right into the turtle shell. You just hope nothing bad happens, and you just kind of become again that pillar of salt, I used to call it, and that's a hard way to play.
In '94, you and the Canucks had to rally from a 3-1 deficit in the first round, and you won 3 overtime games to get there. That was a rarity, and like this year we're seeing it a lot. Is there a reason, or is it just one of those years that we're seeing more comebacks?
That's an interesting thing. I think a lot more teams are a lot more even, and defensively teams are stronger in terms of their ability to play a defensive game. We're much better structured as hockey today versus the early '90s, and the '80s was even more wide open, more fun to watch in terms of creating opportunities and mistakes and that sort of thing. I think the games remain close because it is intense, and And the goaltending's so good today by most clubs. I don't think Philly had good goaltending, but the other clubs have been really solid, as we saw Niemi perform so well in the series for with Detroit for San Jose, and of course I think we've got the best guy here, Luongo. I really like, and of course there's sometimes I think, boy, his emotion is going to get in the way of good performance, you know. But I think he's getting that under control, so I feel good about that.
Yeah, let me ask you about this series because it's a completely different matchup than what the Canucks just went through with Nashville. Obviously, I'm sure San Jose facing Vancouver after facing Detroit is not much of a difference. It's some difference. How do you see this series matching up?
I think the Vancouver team is going to be more concerned about how they're playing rather than the opposition. You have to come up. You got to know what they're trying to do, but really it's about your own execution to win. And they've shown that they can win big games during the regular season, and clearly they won some big games here. They've got through a Game 7 and 2 Game 7s and stand the victor. So they might be mentally tough too. And this has taken Vancouver a while to get there. A few personnel changes in that, but they're much better in these playoff series than they had been in other years when you look at their team and say, you know, they got a good chance, but they didn't perform playoff hockey well, and they might be there now.
Is there anybody on San Jose, Pat, if you were in Alain Vigneault's shoes, you would say, okay, we got to watch this guy or this guy? They do have a few guys who can obviously put the puck in. Is there one key guy do you think they have that has to be shut off?
Well, you know, Thornton, I've admired his skills for quite a while, and I had him in a couple of Canadian teams, and he was capable of doing a lot more. Again, someone that needed to mature and understand if you're going to be a valuable asset to an organization, to a team, and to your teammates, then you become more consistent, and you don't have those lapses. And he looks like he's matured now, and I think he's their best player. And he's an incredible playmaker. You know, I mean, that's what he really has, is that sight to see the ice. He's big and strong, and if he plays big and strong, he'll be a formidable opponent. You know what's going to happen is they're going to play head-to-head. It'll be him, and it'll be Kessler here. Yeah. So that's going to be the key matchup, and then I think that might again free up you know, the Sedins a little bit more. If they get their space, they're going to score. They're going to be. Right now, everybody plays them so tight that the plays that we used to shake our head at and say, how did they do that, you know, are getting taken away because the other side's so more intense against them. But I think it could be for a good matchup.